Hey everyone, tonight we begin with one of the most chaotic, brutal, and downright impossible periods to survive in human history, China's Three Kingdoms era. From 220 to 280 CE, this was a time of endless warfare, political backstabbing, and social collapse that makes Game of Thrones look like a children's tea party. While Chinese literature romanticizes it with noble warriors and brotherly bonds, don't be fooled. If you actually lived through this period, you'd probably be dead before breakfast. So, before we settle in, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy the content I create here. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your location. It's always amazing to see who's joining us from around the globe. Now dim those lights, maybe brew some tea, and let's settle into tonight's journey together. Welcome to Three Kingdoms China, where social order has completely collapsed and your survival depends entirely on luck, cunning, and how fast you can run. Imagine living in a country that's been torn into three pieces, each ruled by ambitious warlords who treat human lives like disposable game pieces and war like entertainment. This isn't a game, this is a real-life Hunger Games, except bloodier, more hopeless, and without sponsors sending you bread. Picture this. The mighty Han Dynasty, which had ruled China for over 400 years, has finally collapsed under the weight of corruption, natural disasters, and massive peasant rebellions. What's left is basically three guys with armies pointing swords at each other, while everyone else tries not to get stabbed in the crossfire. At the top of this twisted social pyramid sit the self-proclaimed emperors. In the north, you have Wei, ruled by a family that basically stole power through political manipulation and military force. In the southwest, there's Shu, founded by a guy claiming to be restoring the old dynasty, but really just wanting his own kingdom. And in the southeast, Wu, ruled by a family that inherited their power and decided, hey, why not be emperors too? These aren't wise, benevolent rulers. They're warlords with fancy titles who spend most of their time trying to murder each other instead of, actually governing. The mandate of heaven, more like, I have the most swords, so I make the rules. Just below them are the nobles and high officials, people who gain power through inheritance, political marriages, or strategic betrayals. They live in fortress-like estates protected by private armies, while common folk starve in the fields. Their main job? Plotting, scheming, and trying not to get murdered by other nobles. Then come the soldiers. Yes, those poor bastards dying in the fields. If you're a professional military man, congratulations. You might have iron weapons and some training. If you're a conscripted peasant soldier, you get a bamboo spear and a prayer. Pay? What's that? Food. Figure it out yourself. Medical care? Huh. When you die, they'll bury you in a ditch with the others. Next are the farmers, making up about 90% of the population. During peacetime, you starve. During wartime, you starve while dodging bandits, soldiers, and cannibals. Yes, cannibals. When food shortages reached extreme levels, people started eating each other. This isn't hyperbole. This is historical record. Artisans and merchants exist in a weird limbo. If you're skilled enough, maybe some warlord will protect you. If not, you're just as screwed as everyone else. At the bottom are slaves, beggars, and refugees. If you fall to this level, congratulations, you're no longer considered human. And women? They're not even on this hierarchy. They're property to be bought, sold, traded, or used as political bargaining chips. If you're female, your best hope is marrying someone who won't get murdered in the first political upheaval. So if you wake up in Three Kingdoms China hoping to follow your dreams, society has one answer. That's adorable. Now get back to work before you get murdered, conscripted, or starved to death. Your day in Three Kingdoms China starts with the rooster crowing, not because you're a morning person, but because if you don't wake up early, you might not wake up at all. You open your eyes and immediately realize three things. 1, you're still alive, which is honestly miraculous. 2, you're starving. And 3, those sounds in the distance could be a merchant caravan, or they could be bandits. In Three Kingdoms, China, the distinction is often blurry. Your bed is a pile of straw, if you're lucky. More likely, You're sleeping on a dirt floor with a piece of torn cloth as a blanket. No pillows, no mattress, absolutely no comfort whatsoever. Your home is a mud brick hut with a roof if you're fortunate. Windows? That's a luxury. You've got a hole, maybe covered with animal hide to keep the wind out. First, you need to check if you still have all your body parts. In a war-torn era, you never know if someone tried to rob you during the night. You feel your neck, still there. Your money pouch, if you have one, still attached? Probably not. If you weren't robbed while sleeping, it's either because you have nothing worth stealing or because the bandits were busy robbing someone else. Now you need to bow to your ancestors. In China, no matter how chaotic the times, filial piety is still mandatory. You bow to the ancestor tablets, praying they'll protect you from dying today. Given the statistics, this is a pretty reasonable request. If you have parents still alive, you bow to them too. If they're dead, you bow toward their graves. If they disappeared in some war, you bow to the air and hope their spirits are somewhere safe. Filial piety gets complicated in the Three Kingdoms era because honor your father sometimes conflicts with don't get killed by his political alliances. If your dad was loyal to the Northern Kingdom and your area just got conquered by the Southern Kingdom, you might need to reconsider your family loyalties or prepare to become a victim of political persecution. Checking complete, bowing finished. Now it's time to face a fundamental question. What are you going to eat today? The answer is likely nothing. Or, if you're very lucky, something you don't want to examine too closely. Welcome to Three Kingdoms Breakfast Time, where breakfast is an optimistic term that really means any organic matter that might prevent you from dying of starvation. Let's start with the good news. You haven't died of hunger yet. The bad news. The day is still young. If you're extremely fortunate, you might have a bowl of thin gruel. This gruel is so watery you can see the cracks in the bottom of your bowl through it. It consists mainly of water, a few grains of rice, and infinite hope. If you're really lucky, there might be some wild vegetables floating in it. These vegetables could be grass, could be leaves, could be anything green that looked like it wouldn't immediately kill you. How does it taste? Imagine hot water, but more disappointing. You're not savoring food, you're consuming liquid despair. But hey, at least it's hot, which means most of the bacteria are dead. Most of them. If you're peasant class and not near an active war zone, you might also have some pickled vegetables. These vegetables have been sitting in salt water for months and now taste like briny regret. But they contain nutrients that prevent scurvy, which was a real problem back then. Meat? Don't dream about it. Unless you're nobility or you manage to kill and cook a rat, protein isn't on the menu. Sometimes, if you're very lucky, you might find an insect floating in your gruel. Congratulations, that's protein. Don't be picky. In the Three Kingdoms era, anything that provides nutrition is a gift. Eggs? Only on festivals or when someone dies. Fish? Only if you live near a river that hasn't been contaminated by upstream armies. Fresh fruit? Unless it's harvest season and you manage to grab some before the armies requisition it, forget about it. Beverage options include tea, if you can find tea leaves, water, if you don't mind intestinal parasites, or alcohol, if you have money and don't mind drinking what tastes like fermented misery. Most of the time, you're just hungry. Not, I'm a little peckish hungry, but my body is consuming my muscle tissue to stay alive, hungry. You learn to ignore the growling in your stomach because complaining only wastes energy you don't have. Dining etiquette? Forget it. When you're starving, you don't savor slowly. You swallow whatever you can get quickly and quietly, so as not to attract thieves or hungrier people. Welcome to Three Kingdoms Breakfast, where the only certainty is that you're still hungry, and this situation isn't improving anytime soon. Now that you've eaten breakfast, it's time to get dressed. I use quotes because in the Three Kingdoms era, clothing is more like scraps of fabric covering your body, hoping they don't completely disintegrate before the day ends. Let's start with the fabric hierarchy. You're a peasant? Rough hemp cloth. Coarse, itchy, irritating hemp that feels like wearing a sack of angry hay. Your nobility? Silk. Beautiful, shiny silk. But that also means you're a robbery target. Walking around in silk is like saying, "Hey bandits, I've got valuable stuff over here." But here's the problem. In the Three Kingdoms era, wearing the wrong clothes isn't just a fashion disaster. It could get you killed. Dress too well, and you become a bandit target. Dress too poorly, and guards might mistake you for a spy or deserter. It's a game you can't win. Colors matter, but not in the way you'd think. Yellow is still reserved for royalty, but now there are 3 different royalties who all want to kill each other. Wear the wrong shade of yellow, and you might get mistaken for an enemy spy. Red might mean you're an official, or you're just covered in blood. In the Three Kingdoms era, both are equally dangerous. Let's talk shoes. If you have shoes, they're made of barely tanned leather held together with hope and providing about as much arch support as a banana peel. Most peasants just go barefoot, through mud, through excrement, through battlefield remains, through mysterious liquids you'd rather not know about. Armor? Don't even think about it. Unless you're a professional soldier or nobility, your protective gear consists of a thicker shirt and good luck. If you're lucky, maybe a leather cap to protect your head from the sun. If you're very lucky, maybe a bamboo chess piece. It won't stop a sword, but it might deflect an arrow. Women's clothing options are even more limited. One robe, probably made of hemp or cotton if you're lucky. It should cover everything from neck to ankles, because exposed skin isn't just morally condemned. It's actually dangerous. Show too much skin and you're inviting unwanted attention. And in the Three Kingdoms era, attention is usually fatal. Foot binding? Yes, it exists, but it hasn't become the extreme practice it would be in later dynasties. If you're an upper-class woman, your feet might be constrained, but not completely crippled. Small comfort, really. Now let's discuss a topic you don't even want to consider: personal hygiene. In the Three Kingdoms era, clean is a relative concept that usually means slightly less filthy than yesterday. Bathing isn't a luxury, it's a fantasy. Most people bathe once a month if they're lucky. Bathing usually means a quick rinse in a river, hoping the water isn't too cold, there are no corpses in it, and nobody attacks you while you're vulnerable. Soap? What's that? You use rough cloth, sand, and sometimes ash to clean yourself. The result is an abrasive scrubbing that removes dirt while also removing several layers of skin. Deodorant? Never heard of it. Everyone smells like a mixture of sweat, dirt, and despair. The good news is everyone smells equally terrible, so you don't particularly stand out. The bad news is that this smell is permanent and almost tangible. Dental hygiene? If you still have teeth, you're ahead of most people. Some might chew mint leaves or rub salt on their teeth, but for most people, dental care consists of pulling teeth out when they hurt too much. Hair care consists of occasional combing, if you have a comb. Lice are permanent residents of your hair. Everyone has them. There's no shampoo, no conditioner. Just hope that the lice don't get too rowdy. Fingernails? Trimmed with a knife, if you have a knife. If not, you just let them grow long and dirty until they break off on their own. Now that you're clean and wearing your clothes, it's time to face the most dangerous part of the day: going outside. Because in the Three Kingdoms era, just leaving your hut is an adventure, and not the good kind. Step outside, and you immediately understand why most people would rather starve than risk venturing out. The world is a dangerous place where every corner might hide someone who wants to kill you, rob you, or both. First, there are the bandits. Not romantic outlaws, but desperate people who have lost everything and now survive by taking what little others have. They roam the forests, hide in abandoned buildings, and jump out when you least expect it. They don't want your money, they want your clothes, your food, your shoes, and anything that might have value. If you're lucky, they'll let you walk away alive. If you're unlucky, well, at least it'll be quick. Then there are the deserters. These are soldiers who escaped from various armies and now prowl the countryside like wild animals. They have weapons, they have training, and they have absolutely nothing to lose. They've faced death and chosen to run, which means they'll do anything to survive. See a deserter? Run. Don't try to reason, don't try to help. Just run and hope you're faster than whoever else they spot. Next, we have conscription officers. These people are looking for fresh meat for the endless wars. If you're a physically capable male roughly between ages 12 and 50, they'll grab you and drag you to the nearest army. Doesn't matter how many children you have to feed. Doesn't matter that your fields need tending. Doesn't matter if you want to die in some nobleman's political game. You're a soldier now. Congratulations. Your life expectancy just dropped from low to measured in hours. But wait, there's more. Cannibals are also wandering around out there. Yes, you heard right. When famine becomes severe enough, some people turn to the ultimate taboo. These aren't people anymore. They're something that has crossed any line of civilized behavior. They won't just kill you, they'll eat you. This isn't metaphorical. This is literal. Historical records are full of accounts of cannibalism during the Three Kingdoms period. Then there's the wildlife. Wolves, bears, and other animals that have lost their fear of humans because there have been so many corpses for them to sample. They've gotten a taste for human flesh and now see living people as mobile dinners. Disease is also in the air. Plague, smallpox, dysentery, and a dozen other diseases are waiting to infect anyone stupid enough to get too close. No doctors, no medicine, no hospitals. If you get sick, you either recover or die. Usually the latter. The roads, if you can call them roads, are filled with potholes, mud, and corpses. Yes, corpses. Nobody has the time or resources to properly bury the dead, so they're just left where they fall. You're not walking on roads. You're navigating a giant open-air cemetery. So when you step outside, you're not beginning a day's work. You're starting a survival game where the odds are heavily stacked against you. Every step could be your last. Every encounter could end with your death. But hey, if you survive the morning, you're already doing better than most people. Now, let's see what happens when you try to actually get some work done. Assuming you miraculously reach your destination without being killed, robbed, or eaten. Now it's time to work. In the Three Kingdoms era, work isn't a career. It's an ongoing survival contest designed by people who have never touched a tool and enforced by people who don't care if you die. If you're a farmer, congratulations. You're about to experience some of the most brutal agricultural practices in history. Your fields aren't just your livelihood, they're a war zone. Armies march across them, trampling your crops. They requisition your grain, which is a polite way of saying steal. They conscript your livestock for military supplies. If you protest, you're a traitor. If you don't protest, you starve. Your tools are basic. A wooden plow if you're lucky, a rusty sickle, and whatever parts of your skeleton haven't broken yet. Irrigation? That's for rich people. You depend on rainfall, hoping it's not too much floods or too little drought. Pest control? You pick bugs off by hand and hope they don't bite you. If the crops fail, you starve. If the crops succeed, armies take most of it and you still starve. Artisans don't fare much better. If you're a blacksmith, you make weapons for armies that will use them to kill other artisan sons. If you're a potter, your jars will store stolen grain. If you're a carpenter, your carts will transport armies to the next massacre site. Merchants? In an era when everyone's trying to kill everyone else, trade becomes complicated. You're not transporting goods. You're gambling with your life that you can reach your destination before being robbed. Road tolls? That's tax for bandits. Protection fees? That's tax for local warlords. If you want to pass, you pay. If you don't want to pay, you become road decoration. Women face special challenges in the work department. If you work in the fields, you have to worry about soldiers. If you work at home, you have to worry about bandits. If you try to do anything, you have to worry about being killed by some man who thinks women should be seen and not heard. Your job options? Take care of family, spin thread, or get sold into slavery. No other choices. Then there are taxes. Oh, the taxes. Not just government taxes, but military taxes, emergency taxes. We need more money to kill enemies taxes. and we just made this up, taxes. You pay taxes to the local warlord, to occupying armies, to bandits, they call it road fees, to anyone with weapons who demands money. Can't pay? They take your land. Still can't pay? They take your freedom. Still can't pay? They take your life. Work safety? What's that? No workers' compensation, no safety regulations, no days off. You work until you die, literally. If you get injured, you either keep working or die. If you get sick, you either keep working or die. If you're too tired to work, you guessed it, you die. Rest is a luxury only the dead can afford. Every day is a struggle for survival. Every task could be your last. You're not building a career, you're delaying inevitable death. But hey, if you survive the workday, you've beaten the odds. Now let's see what happens when you try to get home, assuming you still have one to return to. The workday is over and you're still alive. That's a small miracle in itself. Now you face what's perhaps the most dangerous part of the day, the journey home. In the Three Kingdoms era, sunset isn't a peaceful end to the day. It's the beginning of nightmare time. When the sun goes down, the real predators come out. Daytime bandits at least maintain some pretense of civilization. Nighttime bandits have completely abandoned humanity. They don't just want your possessions, they want your suffering. They've seen so much death that causing death has become their only entertainment. The roads, if you can see them in the darkness, become death traps. No streetlights, no signs, nothing to indicate you're going in the right direction. You fumble through the darkness with one hand extended in front of you and the other gripping whatever weapon you might have. Every sound could be wind, or it could be someone preparing to kill you. Every shadow could be a tree, or it could be a bandit waiting to pounce. Then there's the wildlife. During the day, most animals avoid humans. At night, hungry animals see humans as slow-moving dinner. Wolves hunt in packs, looking for stragglers. Bears emerge from their dens, cranky and hungry. Even domestic animals become dangerous, as starvation turns docile creatures into desperate beasts. If you encounter any other travelers, you don't know if they're friend or foe until it's too late. Everyone assumes everyone else wants to kill them, because most of the time, that assumption is correct. No good evening or polite nods, just tense silence and hands on weapons. Assuming you successfully make it back to your home, you might find it's no longer there. Maybe an army burned it down. Maybe bandits looted it. Maybe another desperate family occupied it. In the Three Kingdoms era, property rights are a suggestion, not law. Whoever has the biggest sword owns the house. If your home is still there, you need to check if it's safe. Is the door open or closed? Are the windows broken? Are there bloodstains? You need to make sure nobody's inside waiting to ambush you before you enter. This isn't paranoia, this is common sense. Once you've determined your home is secure, you can begin the nightly ritual, fortification. You barricade doors and windows with whatever you can find. Furniture, rocks, your neighbor's corpse if necessary. You set up traps and alarms, cans that will make noise, ropes that will trip intruders. You're not preparing for sleep, you're preparing for siege. Then you sit in the darkness and listen. Listen for footsteps, listen for whispers, listen for anything that indicates someone is trying to get in. You don't sleep, you doze, with one ear always alert. Because in the Three Kingdoms era, deep sleep is a luxury only the dead can afford. Even if you successfully make it through the night, you know you have to do it all again tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day after that until the wars end, or you die, whichever comes first. This is the reality of Three Kingdoms nighttime, a survival marathon where every hour could be your last. If you live to see another sunrise, you've earned another day's right to exist. Celebration is brief, because the cycle is about to start all over again. Now let's talk about some basic strategies you'd need if you actually wanted to survive this hellish period. Survival Strategy 1. Become invisible. In the Three Kingdoms era, Getting noticed equals death. You don't want to be seen, remembered, or famous for any reason whatsoever. Your goal is to be the most ordinary, unremarkable person in any crowd. Wear shabby but not too ragged clothes. Too nice and you become a robbery target. Too poor and people think you're a thief or spy. You want that poor but honest peasant look. Never display wealth. If you have money, hide it. If you have food, eat it privately. If you have anything valuable, make sure nobody knows. Wealth attracts predators like blood attracts sharks. Avoid large groups and anything that looks like a gathering. Gatherings attract soldiers, and soldiers bring trouble. You don't want to be anywhere that could be mistaken for a rebel meeting. Learn to quickly assess threats. Develop a sixth sense that tells you when situations are about to go bad. Learn to read facial expressions, body language, and vocal tones. When everyone suddenly gets quiet, it's time to run. When animals start acting strange, danger is approaching. When birds stop singing, predators are nearby. Survival strategy 2, geography matters. Not all places are equally dangerous. Learn to read terrain and choose your locations wisely. Avoid main roads. They're patrolled by bandits, armies, and other dangerous elements. Stick to secondary paths and trails, even if they take longer. Speed isn't as important as survival. Stay away from cities. Cities are centers of disease, violence, and political intrigue. They also attract armies, and armies mean destruction. Unless you absolutely must go, stay away from anywhere with walls. Look for natural barriers. Mountains, rivers, and forests can provide buffers between you and danger. They also offer hiding places and escape routes. Understand seasons. Winter is more dangerous because food is scarce and desperate people will do anything to survive. Summer brings disease and heat that makes travel dangerous. Spring and fall are relatively safest, but safe is relative. Survival strategy 3, stockpiling and hiding. In the Three Kingdoms era, having reserves could mean the difference between life and death. But stockpiling wrong could get you killed. Food storage. Hide non-perishable food in multiple locations. Don't put everything in one place. If bandits find one cache, they might not find the others. Pickled vegetables, dried meat, and grains are your best bets. Water sources. Know the locations of multiple clean water sources. Rivers get contaminated or dry up. Wells get poisoned or destroyed. Always have backup plans. Tools and weapons. Cache basic tools and weapons in different locations. A knife, some rope, an axe. These could save your life. But don't carry too much, because that makes you look like a threat. Information. This is the most valuable commodity. Know which armies are moving where, which areas were recently attacked, which roads are safe. Build information networks with other survivors, but be careful who you trust. Survival strategy 4, flexibility and adaptability. In a constantly changing world, rigidity will kill you. You must be willing and able to change plans quickly. Always have multiple escape routes. Wherever you are, always know at least 3 different ways to leave. Practice these routes so you can navigate them in darkness or under pressure. Learn multiple skills. Don't be just a farmer or just a craftsman. Learn a bit of everything. Growing food, making tools, treating wounds, reading weather signs. Diversity increases your survival chances. Be prepared to abandon anything. Your house, your possessions, even your identity. If survival requires it, you must be willing to become a completely different person. Attachment is a luxury the dead can't enjoy. Survival strategy 5, social intelligence. In a world where everyone might kill you, knowing how to deal with people is crucial. Learn to read power dynamics. Know who's in charge, what they want, and how to give them what they want without putting yourself in danger. Develop useful but non-threatening skills. Become someone people need to keep alive, but not someone they worry might overthrow them. Healers, messengers, and craftsmen usually live longer than warriors or leaders. Build alliances, but keep them loose. You need allies, but you also need to be able to abandon them quickly if they become liabilities. Loyalty is a luxury. Survival is a necessity. Learn when to fight and when to run. Most of the time, the answer is run. Your pride isn't worth your life. A living coward beats a dead hero. Most importantly, remember this. In the Three Kingdoms era, there are no heroes, no villains, just survivors and corpses. Your goal isn't to change the world or become legendary. Your goal is to see tomorrow's sun. If you can do that, day after day, you might just have a chance of making it through one of the most chaotic periods in history. But honestly, the odds are against you. Most people didn't make it. Most people became statistics, footnotes in history books, if that. If you think you'd do better, well, good luck. You're going to need it. Because in the Three Kingdoms era, survival isn't a skill, it's a miracle. And miracles, as we know, are pretty rare. So there's your day in Three Kingdoms, China. A constant struggle for survival, where every moment could be your last. You didn't conquer the day, you merely survived it. If you can manage to do that several days in a row, you might just have a chance of seeing the end of this bloody era. But don't get too optimistic. After all, this was just day one. There are many more days to go, and each one is just as dangerous as the last. Welcome to the Three Kingdoms period. May it go better for you than it did for everyone else. Now turn off the lights and try to get some sleep. Tomorrow, if you live to see it, you get to do it all over again. Good luck. You're going to need it.